The most perilous moment with a narcissist is not when they are angry, attacking, or discarding you. It is when they suddenly become silent and it feels as if you never existed. Because when a narcissist does this, they are not coming back, not to explain, not to apologize, not even to inflict more pain. Most people do not recognize it until it has already ended. If this resonates, if you've experienced that haunting silence and wondered why it hurt more than the chaos ever did, pause, take a deep breath, and stay with this reflection. Understanding this moment is often the turning point where true healing begins. When they are finished, the relationship concludes. The illusion shatters for you. That is not weakness, that is awakening. When a narcissist is truly done with you, there is no dramatic exit, no loud confrontation, no final argument that clarifies everything. That explosive discard people anticipate is often a sign that unresolved attachment remains. Rage, insults, blocking, smear campaigns, and sudden withdrawals are all emotionally charged behaviors, and emotion signals lingering connection. Genuine closure, however, is far quieter and far more disorienting. It feels like the lights went out in a room you still occupy. One moment you were central to their attention, the next you are invisible. This silent departure occurs because the narcissist no longer sees value in the emotional energy you provide. You are no longer producing reactions they can feed on. You may have stopped engaging, defending yourself, explaining, or supplying the intensity they require. At that stage, confrontation becomes ineffective, drama feels costly, and narcissists conserve their energy when the payoff is gone. Silence here is not wisdom, it is disengagement. What makes it destabilizing is that the narcissist does not announce it. There is no closure conversation because closure demands emotional acknowledgement. Instead, contact diminishes or ceases abruptly. Messages go unanswered, patterns vanish. You are left without explanation because, from their perspective, nothing needs explanation. They have already moved emotionally. This is why people feel more confused during this phase than during overt abuse. Your mind searches for meaning, a final clue, a reason to react, but there is nothing left to push against. That emptiness fosters self-doubt. You question whether the connection was real, whether you mattered, or whether you caused some irreparable fault. That confusion is intentional, a byproduct of being discarded without story or reason. The quiet exit also protects their self-image. Leaving loudly risks exposure, conflict, or accountability. Leaving silently preserves the illusion that the relationship simply faded. You are not worth explanation, and that message is communicated not through words but disappearance. Emotional detachment is more final than anger, insults, or dramatic discards because rage still contains connection. Anger is emotional engagement. Yelling, blaming, punishing shows that they are still invested in your reaction, still seeking to be seen, feared, or validated. Even cruelty requires attention. When they are angry, you still exist in their inner world. You retain the power to affect their emotional state, which perpetuates the cycle. Detachment is different. Detachment means you no longer register as emotionally relevant. Your pain doesn't stir them. Your silence doesn't provoke them. Your presence doesn't energize them. This is not growth or insight, it is withdrawal. They have cut the emotional channel entirely because it no longer serves their purpose. Rage signals hurt or control being challenged. Detachment signals that you are no longer worth investing in. This makes detachment feel colder and more unsettling than abuse. Abuse stimulates a response. Detachment leaves nothing. The brain seeks resolution through interaction, even painful interaction. When interaction ceases, the bond lingers unresolved. You replay conversations, hunt for meaning, or wait for a response that will never arrive, while the narcissist has already exited emotionally. Detachment also shields their fragile self-image. Anger risks exposure. Arguments can reveal cracks. Withdrawal avoids accountability entirely. By emotionally nullifying you, they move forward without acknowledging harm. They rewrite the relationship as insignificant rather than failed. For the person left behind, this cutoff feels like erasure. Not because the relationship lacked meaning, but because it meant meaning only to one side. Silence communicates that you are no longer necessary, and that hurts more than any insult could. Indifference is the true ending because it signifies the total absence of emotional investment. Cruelty and manipulation carry emotional weight. Indifference carries none. When a narcissist reaches this stage, you cease to serve a psychological purpose. You are no longer someone to control, punish, impress, or extract emotion from. You are irrelevant. This dehumanizing absence feels extreme because humans measure connection through emotional response, and indifference denies that. At this stage, narcissists stop arguing, defending, or reshaping your perception. Your feelings, confusion, and pain no longer trigger anything. Emotional flatness replaces warmth, anger, or tension. Communication becomes mechanical or ceases entirely. For survivors, this absence often triggers deeper grief than abuse itself. Abuse allowed you to believe in an emotional dynamic, even if toxic. Indifference reveals it never truly existed. The bond was real for you, conditional and replaceable for them. Indifference protects the narcissist from introspection, guilt, or responsibility, letting them move on without acknowledging harm. Seeking explanations during this phase intensifies the wound. The response you seek no longer exists. Indifference is a psychological endpoint, not a phase to navigate, and recognizing it marks the beginning of reclaiming your emotional reality. Narcissists do not stop engaging due to insight or maturity. They stop because they have found replacement supply. This truth can shatter hope that disappearance signals remorse or reflection. Their emotional system is transactional. When one source ceases providing admiration, validation, or intensity, they redirect attention elsewhere. Replacement does not need to be better, healthier, or compatible, just new. Novelty provides stimulation. Fresh targets have not yet challenged boundaries or seen the mask, making them efficient. Once replacement is secured, the old source is unnecessary. This explains the sudden cutoff. You are not abandoned for failure, but because you are no longer usable. The subsequent calm is chilling. There is no longing, grief, or processing. Their emotional energy is already elsewhere. While you work through loss, replaying moments, and searching for meaning, they are engaging someone new, telling a modified version of their story, presenting as unchanged. This abrupt transition can feel like betrayal layered atop abandonment. Narcissists rarely announce the shift. There is no admission of moving on. Instead, absence or disinterest signals it. Confrontation is often denied or minimized because transparency threatens their self-image. Attempting to compete or prove worth is harmful. You are no longer in a relational dynamic, but in a supply economy you never agreed to. Their departure reflects emotional regulation, not your value. When their attachment moves elsewhere, the old connection dissolves silently. Closure is never offered because it demands acknowledgement, which destabilizes their constructed narrative. Instead of clarity, there is absence. This strategic silence maintains control even while disengaging, leaving you with unanswered questions while they move forward, unburdened. People mistake silence for confusion or overwhelm, but it is avoidance. Conversation about endings invites reflection, and reflection invites shame. They opt out entirely. Messages are ignored, attempts at dialogue dismissed. The door remains ajar just enough to keep you trapped. The human nervous system craves resolution. You may replay interactions, rewrite conversations in your mind, or imagine a final exchange to make sense of it all. Closure from a narcissist is impossible. They protect themselves, not you. Any explanation they might offer would be self-serving, distorted, or confusing. Absence allows them to rewrite the story privately. Without a final conversation, there is only their version and your questions. They can minimize, deny importance, or portray themselves as reasonable. Understanding that closure will not come is painful but necessary. Silence is the conclusion. Clarity cannot come from someone refusing emotional acknowledgement. When you stop waiting for answers, you begin creating your own meaning based on reality rather than absence. Confusion is not weakness. It is psychological whiplash from sudden disappearance. When a narcissist ends things, normal relational rules vanish. There is no gradual distancing, no honest dialogue, no mutual understanding. Emotional connection collapses without explanation, leaving your mind to reconcile two conflicting realities: intensity and emptiness. Confusion emerges from bonds built on inconsistency. Periods of attention, intimacy, or validation were followed by withdrawal, criticism, or distance. Your nervous system adapted, staying alert for patterns. When disengagement occurs, scanning continues in vain. Silence becomes louder than any argument. This confusion is residual conditioning. You were trained to repair, adapt, and respond. When there is nothing left to respond to, your brain fills gaps with self-doubt. You question whether you misread closeness or caused the abrupt ending. That is disorientation, not insight. Meanwhile, the narcissist is clear. Their exit is disengagement, not comprehension. This imbalance leaves one person making sense of an unfinished story, while the other has already moved on. Confusion peaks after contact stops. Absence removes the chaos that once anchored focus, forcing the mind inward, searching for coherence that cannot exist. Recognizing your confusion as a normal response to an unnatural ending is crucial. It reframes the question from what is wrong with me to what happened to me. That shift begins regaining psychological footing, placing blame where it belongs, emotional abandonment, not personal failure. Silence is deliberate, a strategy allowing disengagement without confrontation, accountability, or effort. Emotional burden shifts to you while they maintain control.